Welcome to T.O.L Studios, and today in lesson 14 we're going to take a look now at what I've been telling you to memorize is the whole step, half step, whole step, whole step, whole step, half step. And we've been talking about how I've been showing you it's the key is C major or the scale is C major. And I've mentioned that we can take any of the 7 notes that we're using, and instead of seeing it going like A, B, C, D, E, F, G, A, I had us going C, D, E, F, G, A, B, C. Or if you saw that kind of written out, you would have seen me saying C, D, E, F, G, then an A, B, C. Okay, and that's the one we put the whole step, half step, and we talked about the strings and all that. So what we're going to do today is take a different letter, and I said we could do A, B, C, D, E, F, G, A, and we will do that one. But we're going to go ahead and just take G, and we're going to, these numbers are just telling my scale again, the first note of the scale, second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth, seventh, and then we're going to be back at what we start with, just like when I did the C scale. So that means we're going to put our G here. And if we have a G, then we're going to go ahead and make A, and then we're going to make B3, C4, D5, E6, the F for 7, and your G. Now some of you know this maybe. Give me a second because I know you might see something here. I'm going to show you something here. I did this on purpose. So I've also told you to memorize whole step, half step, whole step, whole step, whole step, half step. And I showed you that's why in the key is C, that's why where those letters all went on the guitar, no matter what string or what pattern. And then I mentioned on the last video that I was going to talk about sharps and flats, and I'll show you this on the guitar in a second. But I kind of talked about how we can start playing on the frets we've been skipping, and those become sharps or flats. A sharp sign, just so you know what it is, we do that. So when you see that, that means sharp. Okay, or I'll show you here in a minute. It just means, like, say if you're playing an F note, you're going to play it on the a fret just a little bit higher. So instead of like on the 6th string on the 1st fret playing F, you're going to take it up to the 2nd fret. So it's going to slightly go higher. If we do a flat, it's going to look like that. And flat, you're just doing the opposite. You're taking the note and going backwards. And so basically you're taking it up a key or down a key. For us on guitar, we're taking it up a fret or down a fret. Okay, and then when you get these, it becomes from when I'm getting ready to show you scale. So between G and A, we have to make sure we do a whole step. And a whole step's going up 2 frets. Now give me a second, I'll grab my guitar so you can see this as well. And I did this in the key of C before. I just happened to pick the C here. I always just try to find the letter as close down the guitar where it's not so confusing. I could do it on the 3rd string because that 3rd string open is going to be a G. But I know sometimes it confused me not seeing this as a fret. So I just like to pick the 6th string, or I could go 1st string because they're the same note because these are both E's. So if that's a G, that's a G. The more you know your letters, that you get that quicker. So if I say G here so you can hear it, if I say A goes there, and you know it does because you should know that by now from the last lessons, that is a whole step. So this is correct. We already do that from the key of C, so we happen to do the same thing in the key of G. And I'm going to do this going down 1 string first. So there's your whole step. We have to go A to B, but when we learned this scale, I told you that we would go in the key of C. We end up doing 2 whole steps first. So that means if this is your first whole step, we have to do another one. But we do know that is B, and we already know A to B is a whole step. So this, right now, nothing's going to change. We already know this from the key of C. Sometimes you're going to find out scales have things in common. So we'd have G, A, B, C. That would be our fourth note. That's a half step. So that's correct too, because we've done 2 whole steps. Now we want to do a half step. So we can say our first, second note, whole step, second to the third, whole step, third to the fourth, half step. In this scale, G to A, first to second, whole step, A to B, second to the third note, whole step, B to C, third to fourth note, half step. So we know we need to make this go whole step, whole step, and then we're going to end up having whole step. And bear with me again, people that might know this. Half step. So C to D has to be a whole step. Well, I'm going to show you here in a minute on the guitar what I was doing, and you'll see it is, but if you really studied the last scale, the key of C, you'll know it already is a whole step. We talked about that. It's just kind of in a different spot now. We rearranged the notes. Sometimes some of this stays the same. So like if you see this again, G to A, whole step, A to B, whole step, B to C, half step, C to D, or I'm on the 8th fret, 10th fret, C to D, that's a whole step, just like we learned it in the key of C. And then we have D to E, whole step, so we need to do 3 of these in a row. 1, meaning 3 whole steps. 1 whole step, 2 whole steps, or C to D, D to E. So we need to go 1 more whole step. But we do know that's F, or you should know it by now. We need to not do a half step yet, we needed to go whole step. But since F is the next letter, we're going to sharp the F, we raised it up. And that means we call this an F sharp. And because we slid this up a fret, now we've made this a half step, because there's our F sharp and then our G. So if we see all that again, you've got your first whole step, G to A to B is your second whole step, B to C is the half step, then we got to do 3 whole steps, C to D's first whole step, D to E second, E to F sharp is your third whole step, which gives you your half step for F sharp to G. So we can also say this is the first note, second note the A, third note B, fourth note C, fifth note D, sixth note E, seventh note F sharp, and then back to our first note G. Okay, and we can do this with any of these letters. We could say, basically, to put a D here and go D, E, F, and then follow this pattern. And every key or every other scale, you're going to get more of these sharps. That's what's going to kind of change. Or I'll show you later on the flat keys where you'll do the flats, and we'll kind of explain this one. We're going to tackle this one first, and then we'll get this one. So basically you've learned 2 scales from me, the key or the scale of C major. That's the only scale that has no sharps or flats. The second scale you're learning now, this one is going to be the key of G, or the key of G major. And that's going to have 1 sharp. Okay, and what I'm going to show you in the next lesson, we're going to start looking at the guitar, and I'm going to start showing you all the things I've shown you in the key of C, how this pattern connects to this pattern, and connects to this pattern, all the way up. Then I'm going to show you how to start outsmarting this to understand what I showed you here, and how to quickly show you how to move those patterns around so now you can play in this scale. And that's what I'm going to explain on the next lesson. Alright, thanks for watching T.O.L Studios.